Welcome to the Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis made another monumental step for the state by signing a new election reform bill. Things are heating up with the Arizona audit. Democrats have settled a lawsuit to cease signature verification. They're also trying to get Biden's Department of Justice to step in. The left may have never imagined that opposing their critical race theory can actually help Republicans win. Okay, my friends, let's take a closer look together. Liz Cheney is not fighting for her leadership role as House Republican Conference Chair, while her challenger, Representative Elise Stefanik, is making calls and building support among her colleagues. Cheney isn't putting in any effort of this kind. It seems Cheney has accepted her fate, only she wants to end it the hard way. To date, Cheney has refused to align with her GOP colleagues to focus on the midterms and continued her attacks on the former president. Some Republicans speculate Cheney is choosing to be ousted in a martyr-like fashion instead of staying silent and fading away. One GOP member said, "It's like she's trying to be an agitator. She's trying to stoke the fire to precipitate her own downfall." The Democrats have noticed how agitated Republicans are over Cheney and her antics. On Wednesday, a reporter asked Biden to comment on the efforts of ousting Liz Cheney from leadership. Biden replied, "I don't understand the Republicans." Later in the White House, Biden told the press that he thinks the Republican Party is going through a mini revolution. But he doesn't remember anything like this among the Democrats, as they have had internal fights and disagreements as well. Isn't it so? Establishment Democrats like Nancy Pelosi didn't get along with radical freshmen like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez either. A couple of years ago, Pelosi instructed AOC to, quote, wait her turn and get her feet wet in Congress before trying to shake things up. The freshman responded on a talk show that she didn't care whatsoever. In April 2019, Pelosi fired back at her biggest shot at AOC. She mocked that a glass of water with a letter D next to it could win AOC's district.
However, she's a wonderful member of Congress. I think all of our colleagues will attest. But those are districts that are solidly Democratic. This glass of water would win with a D next to its name in those districts.
Those are pretty harsh words. Pelosi must have been very much annoyed by AOC's inexperience and arrogance. But to AOC's taste, Nancy Pelosi isn't radical enough. That's why she joined in an environmental protest outside Pelosi's office and demanded the speaker make it a top House priority. Joe Biden hasn't been able to unify the Democratic Party either. The most progressive president in the history is thinking about getting rid of the filibuster, packing the Supreme Court, and making Washington, D.C. the 51st state. All these proposals have received backlash from several Democrats. The only difference is that an offbeat like Liz Cheney, who departs from America First policies, is rare among Republicans, but Democrats have a ton of them. What's another trait of progressive Democrats besides their anti-America First? They're pro-crime. Democrat Ed Gonzalez has served as sheriff of Harris County, Texas since 2017. He's also a nominee for Director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, in the Biden administration. However, people recently discovered that in January, Gonzalez filed a motion with the Texas Southern District Court. He attempted to force Harris County DA Kim Ugg to release 1,500 inmates from prison. Gonzalez claimed many of the inmates, pretrial misdemeanors, state jail felonies without holds, other nonviolent charges ought to be subject to release. However, the DA noted 1,100 out of the 1,500 have an external hold or their pending case is violent. The remaining 400 collectively have 800 pending cases against them. Many of these multiple arrestees were on bond when arrested for new offenses. In the motion, Gonzalez cited overcrowding as the reason for the release. But this is a big lie. If you look at the history of Harris County's jail population, it had about 9,000 inmates as of January, which was within the typical range for the facility. More critically, Harris County has already seen a crime wave. What's Gonzalez's obligation as sheriff? To get more prisoners out amid a rise in crime? Luckily, DA Ugg, also a Democrat who ran on progressive criminal justice reform platform, balked at Gonzalez's proposal. The district attorney objects to lowering the bail for any individuals with an external hold or a pending violent case. Ugg said the inclusion of defendants with holds on this list places the cart before the horse. This does not make sense. In the end, UGG only agreed to release 60 out of the 1,500 Gonzalez proposed. One legislator noted Harris County's rising crime rate was due to felony bond reform. More than 100 murders in the past year were linked to suspects who were out on multiple felony bonds. Was Biden's ICE nominee trying to impress Biden by being pro-crime? If Gonzalez wants to release more prisoners onto the streets, does it imply he'll also release illegal immigrants into the country? The Sunshine State had big news yesterday. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a new voting reform bill on Thursday morning. Senate Bill 90 protects election integrity in a number of ways. It enforces voter ID, bans ballot harvesting, and prohibits mass mailing of ballots. The bill also outlaws private money from administering elections, such as Mark Zuckerberg's infamous donation to nonprofit groups to influence election operations. Florida already requires identification to vote, but new bill requires additional identification if a voter wants to change any voter registration information or ask for an absentee ballot. Knowing that there will be an outcry in the mainstream media, DeSantis barred all news outlets except Fox News for the signing event.
What are you about to sign?
So right now I have what we think is the strongest election integrity measures in the country. I'm actually going to sign it right here. It's going to take effect. So there you go. Bill is signed.
But the White House has already sent its condemnation. Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters Florida is moving in the wrong direction. Why is securing election integrity the wrong direction? Well, Jean-Pierre continued, the only reason to change the rule right now is if you don't like who voted. Correct. Americans don't like illegals to vote in the elections. We only want legally eligible American citizens to vote. What really bothers Democrats now is more states will follow in the footsteps of Georgia and Florida to reform state voting laws. Now, before we continue, if you like our program, please hit that like button and subscribe. It'll help more people see our videos. And if you want to support Eye Opener, check out our Mugs That Matters display just below the video right here. And today, I want to make a toast to my new friend, Sean, and his wonderful wife. He sent me a picture of himself yesterday enjoying his mug that matters. This was the first time someone sent me a photo and it put a huge smile on my face. So I want to ask others who have a mug that matters if you could take a picture of yourself enjoying your mug and post it to the Eye Opener chat room on Telegram so that I can toast you right here on the show. Well, with all that being said, everyone, let's grab our mugs that matter, and let's toast to Sean and his wonderful wife. Your support is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for putting a smile on my face. Salute. The Arizona audit has counted roughly 210,000 ballots, 10% of the total vote. After a lengthy lawsuit, Democrats made little progress to impede the audit in Maricopa County. The Senate and the lead auditing firm Cyber Ninjas reached a settlement with them on Wednesday, but this time a big loss to the Republican Party. Cyber Ninjas will immediately cease signature verification on early voting ballots. The audit company will not compare early ballot envelope signatures with those in the voter registration files. The agreement also requires Cyber Ninja to allow news reporters free access to the recount, continue to allow Democratic Secretary of State to send observers to the recount, and continue to follow all policies and procedures the company submitted to the court last week. Along those lines, Secretary of State Katie Hobbs delivered a 6-page letter Wednesday afternoon detailing 13 concerns. Ken Bennett, the Senate's liaison to the Cyber Ninjas, has 48 hours to address them. Hobbs' list of concerns include things like ballots left on table unattended, scrap paper tally sheets, and counters discussing how to tally a vote. Democrats have suddenly become so particular about every aspect of the vote counting process, but they gave little care in November. It's become abundantly clear the Democrats are scared about the audit results. On Thursday afternoon, the Arizona Republican Party announced that Democrats want Biden's Department of Justice to get involved. The DOJ may even begin a legal challenge against the Senate's right to continue the audit.
Hobbs is now conniving with Biden's Department of Justice and its Civil Rights Division to attempt to bring federal monitors into Arizona or to possibly take legal action against this audit. Hobbs has never had any interest in observing the audit. She's a partisan hack using taxpayer dollars to do Democrat partisan bidding to try to end the state Senate's audit.
In fact, the DOJ has already sent a letter to Senate President Karen Fann raising two issues. One is the lack of ballot security, but we know there has been 24/7 security safeguarding the arena and video surveillance on every counting table. Two, it claims this audit will intimidate minority voters and deter them from seeking to vote in the future. Now, first of all, why would seeing votes counted be intimidating for any voters? Second, what about the majority voters? Fann noted almost half of the voters in Maricopa County say they lack confidence and have questions about the integrity of the election system. That's the reason the Senate initiated the audit in the first place. Does the DOJ care about them? In Minnesota, former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin's attorney, Eric Nelson, filed a motion for a new trial on Tuesday. Nelson alleges Judge Peter Cahill's failure to change the venue or sequester the jury from the media circus deprived Chauvin of a fair trial. In his motion, Nelson included the pre-trial settlement with Floyd's family and Representative Maxine Waters' threat of what would happen if the jury didn't come back with a guilty verdict. At least one of the jurors lied on a jury questionnaire. Brandon Mitchell, who was jury number 52, said he hadn't attended any of the Floyd protests, but pictures posted on social media by a family member says otherwise. Last summer, Mitchell had actively participated in anti-police protests in Washington, D.C. while wearing a BLM shirt that said, "Get your knee off our necks." Mitchell has also been talking to media outlets about his experience deciding Chauvin's fate and promoting his podcast. In the process, Mitchell advocated using jury duty for social justice purposes and revealed he may have had an agenda. Currently, Chauvin's sentencing is scheduled for June 25th. Now, Black Lives Matter had played a role in the Chauvin trial, but it won't have a say in the Olympics. The International Olympic Committee, the IOC, has announced to uphold Rule 50. Athlete protest and political messages will be banned from sports field, medal podiums, and the opening and closing ceremonies at the upcoming Tokyo Olympic Games. IOC officials have confirmed any use of BLM imagery, logos, apparel, slogans, and activism will be prohibited. The committee said this decision came after a poll which found 70% of more than 3,500 athletes favored the ban. IOC's Athletes Commission Chief Kristi Noem said, "A very clear majority of athletes said they think it's not appropriate to demonstrate or express their views on the field of play, at the official ceremonies, or at the podium." Outside a sports field, the classroom has also become a battleground for so-called anti-racism invasion. More states, towns, and school districts are standing up to the anti-American critical race theory. This week, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem signed a new pledge to restore patriotic education. Noem is proud to be the first candidate in America to sign the 1776 pledge to save our schools. The pledge was created by the 1776 Action. Inspired by former President Trump's 1776 Commission, it will bring back the teachings of the founding documents. 1776 Action is partnering with former HUD Secretary Ben Carson and Noem to stop anti-American indoctrination at the state and local level. The new pledge affirms our founding fathers were great Americans who deserve to be honored as heroes. It also lists 4 specific commitments for the public K-12 education, including restoring honest, patriotic education that cultivates in our children a profound love for our country, promoting a curriculum that teaches that all children are created equal, have equal moral value under God, our Constitution, and the law, and are members of a national community united by our founding principles. Prohibiting any curriculum that pits students against one another on the basis of race or sex. Preventing schools from politicizing education by prohibiting any curriculum that requires students to protest and lobby during or after school. A Biden's administration proposal states the Education Department plans on promoting critical race theory and the 1619 Project in schools with taxpayers' money. The 1619 Project cast the Atlantic slave trade as the dominant factor in the founding of America, instead of ideals such as individual liberty and rights. Some critics call it a bid to rewrite American history through a leftist lens. Now, on May 6th, 37 Republican lawmakers penned a letter to Education Secretary Miguel Cardona asking him to abolish the 1619 project from federal grant programs. In fact, restoring patriotic education has become a winning point for Republicans. In Virginia, the majority of Republican candidates for governor have signed on to the 1776 pledge, while none of the leading Democrat candidates have. Glenn Youngkin currently leads in the state's GOP race. He strongly criticizes Democrats' critical race push and vows to have schools teach accelerated math and offer advanced diplomas in Virginia, two things that the state's education department is considering dropping.
Critical race theory in our school is actually a political agenda, not an academic curriculum. And therefore, as governor, I will stand up and say we will not have that in our schools. We'll replace it with something I like very much, which is the 1776 project. And we will, in fact, teach accelerated math. We will offer advanced diplomas. And we will make sure that Virginia's children can run in the fast lane, not in the broken down lane.
Russ Voigt, the former Office of Management and Budget Director, affirmed combating critical race theory was key to Republican electoral prospects. He told Fox on Tuesday, many establishment Republicans are slowly waking to this being an issue that people care about. So, if you're a Republican and you are not doing something to combat critical race theory, you have no idea where your people are. And that's it for today, my friends. Check out the playlist right here for more eye-opening content. You can join me on the Eye Opener Telegram chat room and follow me on YouMaker, Gab, and Parler. Don't forget, please sign up to the email list so that we can stay in contact with each other. I want to thank you all, and I'll see you next time.